Hey everyone, welcome to my workshop. I am the Conservative Convict. I did 7 years. Actually, I'm 7 years clean, and I did 10 years approximately in prison. And I am on video 2 of a video series, just explaining what worked for me. What got me out, got me off parole, um, helped me build my support system, gain back some respect from the community and those close to me. And the first topic in the 5 points that I laid out in my entry video is accountability. And what I mean by that is exactly what you think it means. Accountability in when you mess up, you got to fess up to it. You've got to admit when you were wrong. You have to make amends for whatever you did. And sometimes that means you got to deal with some stuff. You got to really deal with what comes with that. Hopefully, it doesn't mean more jail time. Hopefully, it doesn't mean losing a job or a car or anything that is going to set you back to where you were. But you got to be accountable, and you got to do it to yourself. You can't wait for someone to catch you, because the more you're accountable about the bad things, the less likely you're going to do them, because you'll always get caught because you're going to be the one catching yourself. And that'll lead to better decision making. That'll lead to less impulsive choices. One of the things that I did was do not make a decision when I'm highly emotional. And that doesn't just mean mad, sad, whatever. It also meant when I was overly happy. Because there's plenty of times, man, when I got a check for doing something good, and I was just gonna go off and spend that on something that I really didn't need. A new tool, food, anything. And so you gotta hold yourself to a standard that you believe you can sustain. And the longer it goes, surprise, surprise, your standards will start to rise. And you'll start holding yourself much higher than when you first started. And that's an amazing thing to me. Because when I first started, you know what mine was? Don't break a law for 24 hours. Don't break a law. Didn't mean that I wasn't doing other stuff. And I still had to hold myself accountable for those things. And then after a while, it was like, okay, well, this is pretty easy. I didn't even have to think about it anymore. But then I had to start lengthening the time and adding stuff. Okay, don't lie to anybody for 24 hours. Don't harm anyone for 24 hours. And I mean true harm, not, words or violence. I mean, like, don't actually hurt anybody for the purpose of hurting them. Because sometimes the truth hurts. And sometimes it's got to be put out there. The second aspect that everyone seems to forget when they're talking about accountability, don't forget to hold yourself accountable for the things that you did that were good. And that was really hard for me. My mind was always, well, you screwed that up, or you're gonna screw this up, or you know what, you're probably not going to be successful, so just don't even try, because look at how it's been in the past. Because I was holding myself accountable for the bad things, which is good, because that means that you're going to do the right thing when nobody's watching, and we need that. But I wasn't holding myself accountable for the things I was successful in. And it was making me feel like I was not successful in anything. And I would give up and give up and give up. Even this video series, I procrastinated on making these for so long because I kept looking back at my past and saying, hey, every time you tried something out of the your wheelhouse, you screwed it up. Every time you tried something that was purely your idea, it didn't go the way you wanted it to, and you failed. But finally, I had to hold myself accountable for the good things and say, okay, you failed at this, but you made it off parole. Okay, you went to prison, but you got your driver's license. You got married. You got a job. I just got a raise. $2. Just because I was doing the right thing and I was holding myself accountable at work. All these successes you need to also keep in mind. If you're not going to ignore the bad, you can't ignore the good. You can't ignore your successes, because when you put it down in a list, let's say a pros and cons list, and every negative thing gets a con tick and every positive thing gets a pro tick, you're gonna learn that more often than not, unless you've had some extremely bad luck, or we're not holding yourself accountable properly, it's always pretty close to even. Sometimes it's a little more in the negative, sometimes it's a little more in the positive, but it's always around about even. And that's what accountability will do with you for your life. It's going to help balance things out for you. You know, because like when you do something good at work, or when you do something good in front of your wife, what do you want to hear? Hey, good job. Hey, thanks for doing that. Hey, thanks for stepping up. Thanks for being a good father. Thanks for being a good husband. Thanks for being a good worker. I love hearing those things because it means I did something right. It means that I'm not the screw up that my past keeps trying to tell me I am. You need to tell yourself that. You need to tell yourself, okay, you know what? I'm probably not going to be perfect the first time at doing something, but I'm not going to allow holding myself accountable for the bad things to overcome the fact that when I did try, I was then able to hold myself accountable for the good things. It's always going to be a balance when you're holding yourself accountable. And it's going to be hard sometimes. I'm a guy. Sometimes it's hard for me to be able to look at my actions and look at my past and look at myself and go, you're doing the right thing. Hey, that was awesome what you did for your kids. That was awesome what you did for your wife. Wow, you did that just because you wanted to. Just because you knew it was the right thing to do. That was one of the most fulfilling things that I had when I first started this journey. Was the fact that I could look back and honestly, not lip service, not fake it to make it, honest to God, tell myself the good things that I've done. Because as a guy, what are we always told? Your mistakes make who you are. When you go try to find a job, do they look at your criminal record to make sure that you were doing the good things? No. Do they look at your work history to make sure you're doing the good things? Mostly not. Because they're looking to see if there was any infractions, safety violations, any of those things. And that's what we're used to. That's what us guys are used to. The only times we ever hear that, mostly probably from one, if not both of our parents, and maybe our wife. And that's about it. So if you're going to hold yourself accountable and make sure that it becomes a part of your life so deeply ingrained that it comes as second nature to stand up and say, you know what? I'm the one that did that. I'm the one that made that bad choice. I'm the one that made that good choice. Then you need to look at both sides of it. You need to bring both of them in. You can't have the light without the dark, and vice versa. If we were all perfect, we wouldn't need prisons. But if you are the type of person I'm trying to reach to, and you've been in prison, or you've almost been to prison, or you've made decisions in your past that almost brought you to prison, hey, you've done some good things in your life. And if you want to come back into society, if you want to come back into the family, if you want to be that father that your kids need so they don't go to prison, the husband that your wife needs so that she doesn't have to get put on food stamps, she doesn't have to ask for help, she doesn't need to put another man in her life, hold yourself accountable. Don't be prideful. Don't boast. But don't let it go either. All of our works need to be out in the light, good or bad. Because then you can see who you really are and what you really want to be. Appreciate everyone that was here. If you're here from my last video, thanks for returning. If you're new here and someone you know could really use some of the things that I'm talking about, please send them the link, subscribe. If you enjoy what you heard, give a like as well. If you want to know the full 5 parts of my video series, go back to my intro. It explains all of it in there. I really hope that if you're the one that needs to hear this, stick with me. We'll get there. We'll get to the end. And if you want to change the world, you got to change yourself.